The internet, of course, we all know is very, very young, right? But it's so heavily integrated into our daily lives today and into the lives of our children.
The internet did not just become critical infrastructure overnight. When people started using it for their daily livelihoods, for purchasing things, for moving money around, it became part of our daily life, just like water is and electricity.
So there's 1.8 billion people now using it, and there are issues and pressing needs that need to be solved immediately. Well, that's a hard one. What's the first challenge we should meet? The trouble is we have, 5 or 6 that we need to meet all at once.
The designers in the, I think, 70s that designed the IP protocol said that, yes, it will grow, but they didn't foresee this massive growth that we've seen since the early 90s.
At a certain point that there will be no more IPv4 addresses.
The internet will continue as it currently does. There is, of course, a risk for people who do not roll out the new version of the protocol, it's IPv6. If we're looking at the internet service providers, I'm happy to say today that about 80% of them has plans to roll out IPv6 services in the course of the next year or two.
Something that we start every discussion with is stability and security of the internet.
Is the internet at risk or the DNS system at risk? Well, obviously there are always risks.
We've introduced DNSSEC as a way of securing the system to a greater extent. That had to be done again while the system was running.
We at the RIPE NCC have for more than 10 years said, oh, we need to deploy DNSSEC, the secure DNS protocol. I'm very happy to see this is being deployed in the root now, so there's one headache going away.
We've got a program to allocate new domains at the top level to compete with .com and .biz and .aero. And
so at some point in the next however long, 12 months, there's likely to be the launch of new GTLDs.
So we expect to see within the next year or so .sport or .football or .movie or .food, all these other ones coming forward.
How do you ensure that the grant of new GTLDs isn't going to be offensive?
What happens if someone takes .phoenix, and that's the name of a football club or a newspaper or a fishing, so there's brand name issues there.
I think next to property, privacy is the most challenging issue, in particular for the individual user.
The internet in many ways reflects society as we start using it for everything that we do in the physical world.
In real life, you forget. In the virtual life, nothing is forgotten.
I think it's useful to understand, for instance, the concept of the right to be forgotten and how that could be implemented on the internet and what that would mean.
You have forgotten all this, but Google still remembers.
So one of the paradigms that companies are looking at is what is the concept of responsible information management and governance across these broader ecosystems.
I would propose that Mark Zuckerberg, becomes the initiator of a Facebook Parliament where the users elect their representatives and discuss commonly, what are the rules within, a network of 500 million users.
It would benefit from the participation of the major players in the new media, and Facebook would clearly be one of them. Whether that's what the CEO needs to do on his day off, I'm not sure.
So there is talk in Australia of the government introducing a filter at the ISP level to prevent access to what they refer to as illegal material, but no one is entirely clear what that actually means.
Freedom of expression is good reason, and protecting of national security is also a good reason. But as long as you do not have an independent judiciary, you have a lower level of democracy.
Most of the other countries in that box of countries would filter lots and lots and lots of stuff, and this would be filtering a very small amount of stuff, but that doesn't change the fact that it's still filtering. And anyway, it won't work. The other point is it won't work because people will just find their way around it, and
Restrictions are the exception. The rule is freedom of expression. And if, via a discussion, we can organize some pressure on governments which see the restrictions as the rule and not as the exceptions, then this will help and will improve the free flow of information around the globe. Ask the music industry, ask the software industry, the film industry, they are very concerned that if they provide digital services, content in a digital form, that this is taken away by users who copy the things and distribute it for free.
But of course what the internet does instantly is open a new product or service to a market of 1.8 billion. So this is part of the new discussion that needs to be had. That has fundamentally changed the economics, and so the reward for the monopoly now is proportionately huge. And so there are people who argue, well, then the scope of the monopoly should be proportionately reduced.
The East African region had been left out in the so-called Internet or Information Society process. The current statistics as of last year was 3.2 million people having access to the internet only, out of a population of nearly 40 million. But the way I see the state of the internet is very few of us can afford computers, for example. So I see most of us accessing the internet perhaps through mobile telephones. So I see smartphones, for example, becoming a very important aspect to allow for internet access in the East African region. We are looking at issues of cybercrime, at the same time looking at universal affordable access. So we have to deal with the issues at the same time. While all the others, the Chinese and the Japanese, are already beginning to talk about internationalized domain names, we haven't even started to have our own local content in our own languages on the internet.
Today the internet is still very visible because we're still thinking about it and we're still building it and we're still enhancing it, but it's changing so dramatically, and it will continue to change dramatically as we move into the mobile world. It's very possible that the internet will remain just as critical as it is, but it will almost be invisible to us because we are going to take it for granted in a way that is integrated into our lives rather than being visible to us.